ANA eLearning Academy is brought to you by CDN Graysheet, a trusted source of rare coin and currency valuations since 1963.
Okay, everyone, we're going to go ahead and get started. First of all, happy summer seminar. And thanks for joining us here at the ANA's eLearning Academy. My name is Andy Dickus, here at the ANA headquarters in Colorado Springs. We'd like to thank the Graysheet for their continued support of our e-learning program. For those of you who have been out here to summer seminar, we miss you. We know that this is not the same as the camaraderie and interactive, immersive numismatic experience that we provide out here. We look forward to having you next year if all goes well. But for now, we are making lemonade out of lemons. Today's presentation should be interesting. Counterfeit of gold coins. Brian Silliman is a longtime instructor at Summer Seminar. He's also a former ANA authenticator and NGC grader. With this presentation, everyone, Brian's going to go through the entire presentation he has. Again, if you want to post specific questions for Brian, post them in the Q&A function. If you just want to talk shop, sometimes people just want to talk about a particular coin they have or something like that, please post that in the chat function. So without further ado, I will pass it over to Brian.
So yeah, I was a coin dealer in college, then went to ANA for an internship in their authentication bureau. Spent a few years there. Then went to NGC, actually to NCS, the conservation company, which was across the hall from NGC. Was at NGC for about 11 years, doing authentication, grading. I started the token and medical metals program, and then decided I needed to get back to the West Coast, and I decided to do a sink or swim, and I jumped to a position at Panda America. And 2 weeks after getting the job, I was in Asia, working on Asian coins, the Panda coins, and the counterfeits. So it seems like everywhere I go, I am surrounded by counterfeits. Now I'm doing my own thing, and currently doing a little bit of consulting for the Secret Service on the counterfeiting problem that we're having now. But for the purposes of this, we're going to look at the United States gold coins. And surprisingly, I mean, this is normally a full day and a half of the normal summer seminar, and then we would have hands-on of hundreds of examples. We're obviously not able to do hands-on, but the way I have changed the teaching of the class, you should be able to get a tremendous amount out of it, despite not being able to do the hands-on. So we'll just sort of dig in. Now, we used to, for decades, would teach coin by coin by coin by coin. Yeah, they'd usually start with dollar gold and then work their way up through $20 gold pieces. And it was, you know, at least 4 days worth of class. And that's just, it's not the effective way to do it. So I've kind of flipped things around. And you need to know 3 coins. And you can apply those to the entire, all of the series. So we're going to look at techniques that we can apply to all dates in a series. You only need learn a few typical characteristics instead of thousands of die-specific diagnostics. I have 16 D-ring binders. They're big 4-inch thick with nothing but diagnostic drawings and pictures. I've got well over 1 million images, and so obviously, if you wanted to look up a counterfeit, you're not going to remember them all. It's just not feasible. So, characteristic is what we're going to rely on. Many individual counterfeits are published. Bill Fiva has a book on gold that goes through by denomination and date. You can pull the articles off the ANA. The ANA library is accessible online. You also have the Harry Bass Research Foundation, which I think I'm going to have a list that you can use as backup. But breaking it down into its simplest form, we have three types of gold coins. We have flat field, sculpted field, and Incuse design. Flat field being your Liberty head gold. It has denticles. It's a flat field, Liberty in the center, denticles around the edge. They have the cartwheel luster. They're going to have a certain look to them. They're going to have diagnostics that are typically found on them. Sculpted field, those are going to be our very artistic and beautiful 10 Indians and $20 saints. They have more relief. They have more of a satin luster. They have diagnostics that are characteristic to those fakes, and there's diagnostics for you expect for genuine coins. Okay, and the diagnostics for a 10 Indian and a $20 saint are very similar, so we can apply it to the whole series on both of those. And our last one, which is usually the thorn in almost everybody's side, is the Incuse Indian. It can be tricky to grade and it can be tricky to authenticate, but the diagnostics seem to be the same on almost all of the coins in the series. So in learning these diagnostics, you can eliminate probably 90% of the fakes that you can come across. One thing that's, while you can learn these genuine characteristics and the diagnostics for the specific types, with experience and the more coins you look at, you can spot the loss of relief or the difference in color right off the bat. In the grading room, frequently, if you work on enough gold, you don't even have to pick it up. It could be at the grader's desk next to you and you see it and the color's wrong and you just know right away, or the way it's reflecting the light. That comes in time. For now, let's just work on some diagnostics, characteristics that we want to see. So our flat field design type, okay, this is one of three. It's your $1, $2.5, $3, $5, $10, and $20 Liberty head gold. Denticles, flat field. Okay. Here's your denticles, and then this is the flat field. It typically has a cartwheel luster. Okay. Our genuine characteristics are typically cartwheel luster, fine details. That applies to all of them. Crisp, fine die polish. Dye erosion and metal flow. As the dyes strike more coin, you get more metal flow, more dye erosion, which affects your luster. Counterfeits are not struck in the same quantities as genuine US coins, and their dye erosion tends to happen quicker. Not going to be a big issue for the type of coins that we're looking at that are designed to defraud collectors, but bell-like tonal qualities. Cast coins typically don't ring. They kind of tang or thud, but struck coins will ring. Most of the coins we're looking at that are deceptive are going to be struck coins. They're designed to fool you, and they're going to meet mint specifications for weight and density. The denticles are going to be well defined. If you look at the denticles on a nice genuine coin, you'll see that the denticles have a raise, and then there's metal in between them, and then it raises up. They're actually multifaceted. Some of them denticles go up, and then at an angle, almost like a rooftop, and then down to metal in between, not the field, but metal in between. When they transfer and make a copy of that, they lose a little bit of the relief, which means they're going to lose the metal that's in between. So it's going to go straight to the field, and you're going to have denticles with a toothy separation on a fake. Correct weight, alloy, and diameter. The coins we're looking at are going to be gold. Most of the modern Chinese stuff that we're seeing isn't gold. There's some people say some of it's plated, but typically it's going to be an alternative metal. But there's other issues that we can spot that kind of nail that down for us. A lot of your counterfeit that we're looking at, that's designed to defraud your collectors and dealers, was probably coal. It was probably really bad U.S. coins that they just recycled into planchets for making counterfeits. The correct color. This takes experience. Some might have a gift at it. It took me a while to get it, but when you see enough gold coins, when you have one that's fake, the color strikes you as being different. And that's also true for some surface alterations. Few, if any, tool marks. The tool marks we normally see, the mint, the mint's making coins, and they might leave some tool marks when they're working on the die before they put it into production, or even when they file it while it's in production. But it's very few. Counterfeiters' tool marks are much more pronounced, and that's one of the gems of our diagnostics. And good relief. It's the original is never as strong as the copy. The relief and definition of the stars, the hair, the eagle's breast, different things like that, and the leaves and the feathers, the lower relief parts of the design will disappear with the loss of relief. So you might have floating leaf tips and things like that. Okay, so now our sculpted fields, and these are truly beautiful coins, and you'll notice they don't have a flat field like we have, or denticles. They've got a very smooth surface and flat, and a satin luster. Sloping fields, no denticate and a satin luster, and it's just two types, the 10 Indian and the $20 Saint. We'll have, somebody asked a question, do we have an example of a fake? And yes, we will have many examples of fakes that you'll see. But we're typically going to have a different type of tool mark, a different type of luster. The color on these seems to change a lot more, at least in my eyes, than the flat fields. And then our Incuse design, and this is a little devil of a coin. I do not enjoy grading these, and I don't particularly enjoy authenticating them. Although most of the ones you see, and you can put together a complete set of both $2.5 and $5 Indians in very good counterfeit. All your design, your field is one of the highest parts on the coin. So, and that's where we like finding our diagnostics, unfortunately. And finding tool marks in the feathers can be a workout. I know that there was several times where at the authentication bureaus we received $2.5 and $5 Indians from PCGS and NGC to give a second look, because they weren't even sure. And they knew we probably had images of it. But they're tricky, but you can do it. And you can, with these, you can nail at least 90% of the counterfeits. So Liberty head, loss of fine detail, weak fat appearance, we call it, or weak fatty, raised devices. Dates, legends, and stars are going to have a more of a weak fat appearance. And we're going to show you examples of all of this. Tool marks and sparks emanating from the denticles, toothy separated denticles from that loss of relief, the metal, that little bit of raised metal that's actually higher than the fields in the coin is going to disappear, and you're going to have toothy separation. Missing low relief design elements, stems and leaf and sometimes hair will just float where the base of the leaf was lower relief than the leaf tip, which was higher. So the base is gone and you just have a floating leaf tip. A halo or a World War I helmet dishing effect, which we'll show as well. The transition between the fields and the denticles, and off color. And it may or should fall within mint standards for weight, diameter, and metal content. Some of the ones I've tested have been almost as fine as they should be, but many have been a little bit finer, which suggests it was actually a recycled coin and it burnt off some of the copper and elevated the fineness of the coin. Now, some of the genuine characteristics that we like, and you can almost eliminate the coin as being genuine, are seen die cracks. Die cracks are seldom seen on counterfeits. Usually, if counterfeit is going to pick a host coin to make his copies off, and he's using a lathe, typically a one-to-one transfer process. Now they're using computers, but he doesn't want anything on the coin that's going to draw your attention to it. He just wants you to look at it and say, hey, nice coin, great luster, yeah, I'll buy it. A die crack, you're going to see that, and you're probably going to pick up your loop and take a closer look, make sure it's not a scratch or something like that. So the counterfeiters are typically going to avoid that. But one of the things we like about die cracks, they can show up on a counterfeit, is we're looking for a fine, crisp line. If this was a counterfeit of a coin with a die crack, you would probably be missing parts of the crack. It would be incomplete. It would stop and start, and it would be very soft and mushy. It more look like string than a crack. So if it draws attention, they're typically going to avoid it. But a lot of times I like die cracks, but a lot of people don't. So people would pass on that coin in the first place. Cuds and things like that, where dies have failed, or parts of the die flaws. Again, the counterfeit is going to avoid it because it's going to draw your attention to his coin. It will transfer. Everything on the host coin transfers. Everything sufficient enough on the host coin transfers to the counterfeit, so it shows up. The nice thing is die polish will transfer. Here's an example of some die polish. This would transfer from the host coin if they made a counterfeit of this, but it would have breaks in it, and it would be more like a string as opposed to a crisp, fine line. But here's where the die failed as a result of the star. They're going to typically avoid that. Okay, but here's an example of that weak, fat look. The loss of release, crispness of design, and fine details. If you look, compare the 5 and the 2 has more of a softer, rounder bubble look. And that's just smoothing of the 90-degree angles in the design. The 5 has its angles. The 9 and the 9 are very close. You can see here the loss of relief in the denticles. And then most key is that star. If you look at the star, you can see that it goes up on the side and then up to the center of the branch of the star and down again, and then it's got the centers. It's not just up, down, and across. And this one is just up, down, and across. It's lost a lot of the detail. It looks like we do have a little bit of die polish it might be the counterfeiter polishing his dies to kind of give him a little bit more life. But yeah, the loss of detail is quite visible in the counterfeit right here on the right. Another example of it. The loss of detail. Now, your struck counterfeits are typically going to be uncirculated or AU coins. And they're AU because a lot of times they end up in bags in larger deals. But initially, they're going to be uncirculated coins in your struck counterfeit gold. So these would both be uncirculated, or this is the counterfeit and it should be uncirculated. But you sort of see that it does look like it has AU details, not from actual circulation, but just from the loss of details. And this being probably an about uncirculated coin that has the appropriate details. And you can see the metal flow and luster. It's more subdued on the counterfeit. And here you can see the metal in between the denticles as opposed to more of a toothy separation. That's the loss of fine details and the tool marks. And here he's gone in to fix his dies. This is more extreme than you'll typically find on a genuine coin when they polish the dies. And this is great for a number of reasons. One, if you know your dollar gold, you also get an extra edge. It's long anchor edging. And it typically shows up on the vast majority of coins. This is kind of an example of it. You would have an extra lip. On the counterfeits, this is the area right here where the void between the dies is greatest. let's see. Okay, well, some of these questions we'll get to. Yeah, the denticles, well, we can go back to that. Yeah, the denticles, there's a couple things going on. The striking pressure is going to be different. So that'll affect the rims. But these are good original denticles. They're crisp. They've got definition to them. The denticles aren't just straight up, across, and down. They actually have some relief, some bevel to them where they go up and then over and then down and over. And then it's like a rooftop. So you will get more definition. These kind of are just flat they're teethy. And then they do have the separation from the loss of relief of some of this metal in the centers. Back out. Here we got a couple of good things. One, the loss of detail, and we're losing some of the letters, the definition. The void between the dies is greatest, so striking pressure is going to be a factor in this. We've got a little bit of a floater here, loss of relief. This very soft, weak, fat, the denticles, but here, these are spikes. These are hasp marks. It's where they were filing. Keep in mind that the counterfeiter makes this, and then he looks at his dies, and his dies are in the reverse of what he's seeing. Everything that's raised on the coin is in relief on the die. So when he sees something, it probably looks quite strange. So he, not being a mint employee and being used to stuff like that, he probably goes in and overcompensates by correcting things that don't look quite right, and in the process leaves us these wonderful little tool marks. Now, $1 gold pieces, the mint will leave tool marks on it, but it's never to the extent of this. So you're going to want to pair, the tool marks you see coming out of the denticles with a loss of fine details, with a loss of relief, and we're at what, 3 red flags there. And that's enough to condemn the coin and play it safe. Now, you don't have to buy every coin you look at. If you saw this coin and you had a couple of red flags on it, just go to the next one. There's no reason you couldn't find this at another table at the show or in a different eBay listing or another dealer. So be selective. Don't take chances. I usually do talk about your gut feeling. Even if you aren't an experienced collector, your gut feeling is more often than not correct. When I used to work the table at shows, people would bring coins by, and a majority of the time they say, well, yeah, I had a gut feeling about this coin, but the price was right and I liked it. That even on relatively new collectors, they'll frequently have a gut feeling that something's quite right. Not quite right, and they should have gone with that gut feeling. So do listen to that. There really isn't any coin that rare that you couldn't find it someplace else, and probably in better condition at a better price. So this is an example of that dishing effect. You got a little bit of a halo kind of look. Now, if you rotate this coin around under the light at different angles, that's going to be more pronounced. And it'll be a halo going around. The other thing we have is more of a lake effect. This is a lack of relief. This is that loss of fine details. It kind of gives you a little PL in here you typically won't have. Another thing, we got some great stuff on this coin. This is a die clash. If you're familiar with the design, this is the chin, the lips, the nose, the eyes are right about here, and now we're going up into the headdress and the feathers. The dies came together without a coin in between, and they imparted this nice, fine, crisp line from the other side, the other die, the other image on the die. Typically, a counterfeiter is going to avoid that. In this case, the counterfeiter didn't. Now he's transferred the die clash, most of it, and it has more of a string look to it. It's soft, and not very well defined, whereas this is quite crisp. We've got significant metal flow in here. We have a little bit of that long acre edging that I was talking about that we didn't see on the dollar and date, 2 slides ago. this we like to see. Doesn't mean it's necessarily going to be there. Remember, if this is a weak strike, this is where the weak strike is going to show up because you have the portrait on the other side. That's a lot of metal movement to fill up those dies. But here you can see we even have the edging here. We have the low relief section of the leaf as opposed to a floating leaf tip. And if you look, we've got a fair amount of details on what probably is an AU coin. And here's an uncirculated coin with the AU details. So we've lost detail and gives the coin appearance of being circulated. Those are just two fantastic images for demonstrating everything that could go wrong with a counterfeit. Okay, the loss of fine detail. Look at the stars. They look more like stones. Dishing at the edge. Tool marks. You have some pimples and extra metal. It raises some eyebrows. Loss of relief. So we might have a tool back there. We could have a depression or two in this area. Depressions we're going to cover in a little bit more depth right now. This is a depression. Notice it has luster in it. It's the inside surfaces match the outside surfaces. Now, if this had been a contact mark, you know, of the rim of one coin striking this, it's going to have a shiny interior. But this was on the host coin. It was a contact mark on the host coin. It became part of the counterfeiter's die. And then as the counterfeiter struck, the metal flowed right through it, so it matches the surrounding surfaces. These are quite common on your commemorative series. If you believe it or not, there's about a 16 article series on the older commemoratives and the various counterfeits that were produced. That was done in the ANA's magazine. I recommend it if you do go into commems. But you can see, and there's a tremendous amount of depressions in that. And you're going to see depressions like this on the sculpted field coins, the 10 and 20. But here, this is a linear depression, which means it was probably a piece of lint on the die. Now, the counterfeiters took better care of their dies than the mint did. They had more at stake. It's not as easy for them to make dies as it is for the mint. They have probably much more limited resources than the mint. So they would wipe down their dies with cloth. The mint didn't do that. The mint wiped down their proof dies with cloth. So if you see a struck through lint on a genuine US coin, that there's a very good chance that's actually a proof. And if you see it on what appears to be a business strike, it's a good chance that it's probably a struck counterfeit. But loss of detail, depression, struck through lint, which is also basically a depression, and toothy separation, I've got enough to lean towards calling this coin a counterfeit. And if we were able to look at the entire coin, we're going to find a mess of spikes coming out of the denticles and more depressions and loss of detail. So here's a similar example of this one was probably a submission, actually. And overall, I'm guessing a lot of you probably thought, well, I don't like it. You know, something was stopping it. Like if we're looking at this, I'm seeing overall, it's kind of flat, a little bit. It just doesn't have any pop to it. The loss of detail, I mean, luckily we know that there's supposed to be letters there, although we can't really see them. I would expect more from the mint. Oh, I've got a couple, looks like pimples, maybe a depression, depending on how the light's hitting it. My denticles don't look too bad, but it does look like I have a few things to look at closer. I move to the other side, and it looks like I have a very large tool mark. Looks like I've got a bit of a dishing effect. Oh, that looks like a depression. Very weak and flat. Weak and flat. This kind of looks like AU details on an uncirculated coin. And now I'm going to take my loupe to it, and I'm going to take a better look at all these things. Oh, toothy separation, loss of detail, loss of relief. I've got enough to condemn the coin. I've got enough reasons not to buy it, and that's what we're going for. You're not getting paid to authenticate the coin. You're making a decision whether to pay for the coin. So we do want to keep our wallet close. Going in close, yeah, it looks like we've got what was a contact mark on the host coin. And some displaced metal, some luster in it, loss of detail, weak fat appearance. It's awful. There's luster in that depression. So that was a contact mark on the host coin. Now it's a depression with luster in it on the counterfeit. Let's try another one. Okay, these come up. We're looking at them. Initial impressions. Okay, without going to this is something you also need to do. When you pick up a coin and look at it, look at the whole coin. Don't go for the loop. Try to make a practice of keeping the loop in the pocket or around your neck for a little bit. Look at the whole coin, because you don't need a loop for this coin. Halo effect, toothy separation of denticles, loss of detail. AU, probably an uncirculated coin. We'd have to rotate it around for the luster breaks. It does look like we have a die crack, but that's a straight crack. Now, when a die fatigues and cracks, it's usually a jagged crack. I mean, it kind of, back and forth, not unlike an exaggerated form of a stock chart. This is a jagged crack. Jagged cracks are the results of either casting or pressure, and they tend to be straight cracks. Excuse me, this is a straight crack. So we see this, okay, it's a point to look at closer, but it's a red flag. That might be a depression, the loss of detail, the toothy separation. There's bound to be some tool marks. We have a rough field. We have enough to condemn this coin. This, nice. Very strong denticles, nice rim. This looks like it might be a little bit wiry on the rim. They strike counterfeits typically with more pressure to bring up more of the detail. They apparently just don't realize that the detail's in the die, not necessarily in the strike. Moving on to the next one. There's a closer, the obverse and reverse. And then when you can see the whole coin with the naked eye, you can see that it is absolutely horrible. There's our straight crack. There's another straight crack. Here's some tool marks. The dishing on this is just out of control, which is fantastic for us. There's no strength to any of this. Looks like we're even losing some relief. And this coin is just horrible all the way around. Okay, what do you think of that? Luster looks good. Maybe it's had a little bit of cleaning. Relief looks decent. It does look like AU details up in this area. Okay, this is one of the better $3 counterfeits. You can put a complete set of $3, a complete set of $3 counterfeits together, by the way. This is one of your better fakes, actually. And the reason is going and looking at the date, you see the extra metal here. It's what they call an 1882/3, which might necessarily, it probably isn't the best way of describing it, but that's what they've gone with. It kind of looks more like a 2/2 to me. But if you go in closer, you can see we've got some depressions, a little bit of extra metal, some depressions in here. But when you've got your loop, if you go up into the R, yeah, but it looks like a circle with a line underneath it. That is the omega symbol. This one is the often overlooked sister coin to a $20 saint with the omega. That's quite famous. So you can authenticate this based on the other things that we showed, the loss of detail, depressions, and whatnot. But it's the R in Liberty on the headband that has the omega symbol. And the idea being that he was either proud of his work and signed it, or that he didn't want to buy them back. I'm leaning more towards probably vanity as opposed to not buying it back. Okay. I mean, if we were in the classroom together, we'd do a show of hands for which one's real and which one's fake. But either way, we'll discuss it this way. This coin is a hot mess. It's cleaned, maybe even polished. As a result, the surfaces are impaired. That dirt's gathered up. It does have, it has, the cleaning is affecting the luster, giving it a kind of a halo effect. But this is a genuine coin, definitely, probably still something you'd want to pass on. If you buy this, you're going to own it for a while. And then this, an uncirculated coin with absolutely horrible details. A low end AU, the dishing effect, probably have a few spikes here and there, toothy denticles, just a very pronounced, very low quality, probably 1960s or 70s struck counterfeit. Again, going in, uncirculated coin, AU details, toothy separation, spikes. Doesn't have it, that's an actual AU. Looks like we might even be missing part of the tip of this because that's low relief and that's a higher relief. So yeah, compare and contrast. AU, genuine, AU details, counterfeit. Take another look. Again, loss of relief, loss of fine details, loss of relief causing the metal in between the very well-defined denticles to start disappearing, and tool marks, hash marks from the counterfeiter filing his dies. And then there's more tool marks. Now these tool marks are going to go all around the edge of the coin. Okay, first I thought this may have been an eBay coin. This one is probably one that I just pulled off of a forum, just to make sure we're current with what's out there in the market. Somebody posted this as they had just bought it, I believe, and they wanted opinions on it. We're not even we wouldn't even need to take a loop to it. We see very weak flat denticles. We see a floater. We see AU details on what looks like it, not very good details on what looks like it could be an AU coin. I'm not seeing a lot of contact or shiny things from coin on coin contact. Horrible detail, but I got a pretty sharp rim, which suggests it was probably struck with more pressure. So what are we at? 4 or 5 red flags for reasons not to buy this coin. It's a really low quality, probably 1960s or 70s counterfeit. Okay, we pull this one. Oh, looks pretty good. Looks better. Maybe a little bit of loss of details. We're not getting much reflection off the coin because we're looking at it flat. Well, we go in, we're seeing what looks like a depression, a little bit of softness there, depression. On these, I do like seeing die polish in here on a genuine piece. On the counterfeits, I would probably just have a small piece of it like this, which is quite common. But yeah, this is kind of a weak, flat, colors off. Let's move on. Another 3. Looks like you might have a depression, but look at that tremendous loss of detail, weak fat appearance, not a lick of die polish in there. Move on to the next one. This is one from the internet as well, from Facebook actually. Yeah, you click it up, you look at the coin. 1, loss of fine details. Just a very flat luster. It looks like we've got a sharp rim, so it was struck with more pressure. Now, some gold coins do have sharper rims. Gold's soft metal. It doesn't take much to bring a rim up. But lots of fine details. Looks like we've got some tool marks coming out, those spikes. Looks like we may have a couple depressions. And I think if you go around and look at the letters, you'll find some impressions on the letters. Very toothy separation on the denticles. So we're at what, 4 red flags. We've got enough to condemn this coin. The 1898 2.5 gold. Okay, there. This is actually a fun one. They made the reverse of the coin, and then they made an 1898 reverse, and then they made 7 other dated obverses. So they would take that 2.5D reverse, and they would just pair it with different obverses throughout the 1890s and 1900 through like 1910 or something like that. It's a 7, a 6, a 5, I think. I can't remember all the dates. I might have it written down, but if you look at it, loss of details, pronounced depressions, that's on that. For nailing that, that obverse is being fake. On the counterfeit, it's just some tool marks down here, which we're going to show you. But this reverse and that characteristic shows up on, I think it was 7 different dated obverses for the 2.5. So if you just know that, you'll spot it on all of them and you condemn all those coins. But there's depressions throughout, and the tool marks go all the way around the coin. It's just that these were very identifiable as pointing out the common reverse. And common reverses are common reverses are you'll see them in the 10 Indians and other series. And there's even a couple common obverses where they just paired it with different mintmark reverses. Nice big fat depression here, another one here. Looks like we got some tool marks here. There's enough to condemn this one as well. Tool marks. Stars not too bad. Tool marks, tool marks, tool marks. Spikes is also another way we call them. Well, now we're in a $5. We've looked at 1, 3, 5. We all have basically the same diagnostics because we're still on flat field gold. So now you're seeing the same diagnostics. So you can probably, if I threw a $20 gold piece up there with the same diagnostics, you could nail that one as well. This is why we're teaching it like this. So you could actually do this at a show without lugging around a big briefcase with a bunch of books on gold and counterfeits and individual diagnostics, because the odds are the coin you're going to buy at the show, or that you're looking at as potentially buying a show, is the one that's not in the stack of articles that you have. So you're going to have to wing it. Look at this coin, it's decent luster, decent detail. We're rotated under the light. We're going to see a few things we might want to take a loop to, get a better look at. I believe this one also came off Facebook recently, one of the fake coin forums. And then I see some spikes. I work my way around the edge, more spikes, more spikes. I've got enough reason not to buy this coin. I can just walk away from it now. Let somebody else take a chance on getting ripped off on it. But yeah, spike, 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 spike. It's going all around the coin. That's enough to condemn it. And another one. Very nice looking coin. It's got luster. It's very soft luster. Maybe a little bit weak on the details. Might have a little bit of a halo effect here. There's a few things I want to look at, for possible damage or, to see what they are. Go in a little closer. Some spikes. If I see more of that going around the edge of the coin, I'm going to move away from this coin. Looks like I got depression here. Maybe a depression right there. It looks like it has luster in it. Loss of detail. More spikes. I've got enough to condemn this coin and go the other direction with it. Great big depression. So now we're into the tens. When I look at this coin, initial impression, looks like the center is a little thicker than the rest of the coin. Maybe I could lay it flat and spin it. That usually is an indicator for a Middle East counterfeit from the 60s or 50s and 70s. Loss of fine detail, unnatural fabric. It has a weird look to it. Granular raised devices. It's got that bubble letters. It does meet mint specifications for weight and diameter. So we need to both weigh it and also go in for a closer look. That coin, actually, there was two of them that came in the same submission, right next to each other in the box. And that actually helped us because they were identical looking coins. And then when you went in for a closer look, they had all the same identical markers, which were depressions, which we don't want. It's one thing if it's mid dye polish as an indication towards genuine. Unusual looking fields, weak, loss of detail, very pronounced there. Looks like we might have a depression here, some extra metal here, depression here. It's got significant issues. If we still haven't condemned it, now we can. We've got a very large pronounced denticle. We have a struck through lint and not depression, depression, and then a very weak, soft raised device, the weak fatty. We've got enough to condemn that coin as well. Now you all had an initial impression. Unfortunately, we can't, I can't react to it, what you guys are thinking, but having a hunch that maybe half of you are looking, it's cleaned, removed from jewelry. Yeah, that's very likely. And some of you might think it's fake because the surfaces are irregular. Unfortunately, this has probably been removed from jewelry, and in the process of polishing it and cleaning it, they've given it irregular surfaces and given it a loss of detail. This coin's genuine, but it's not one I would rush out and buy. Generally, it's a good idea to stay away from problem coins. Your initial impression, it's a big coin, it's a gold coin, it's going to get a lot of chatter on it from being in a bag with another coin. Maybe a little bit of wipe. These were in bags, and you got luster in all the protected areas. So this isn't uncommon at all. This look, the color is probably just light. I would guess it's a fluorescent that's doing this. So as we work around, we might want to take a look at this, maybe this, and anything else that is reacting to the light. And sure enough, there's a very pronounced spike. There's a couple more. And as we work around the coin, there's even more of them. Plenty of reasons to stay away. This one kind of jumps at me as either this spot down here suggests that it's probably been cleaned at some point. But it also has kind of a flat look to it, kind of wishy-washy and flat. This is a good area to find depressions. We could have some right there. We'd need to go in closer with the look, but with the loop. But rotating the coin around, there's little things that are popping out. Metal here, this dull spot by the date suggesting cleaning. Got it also here. This possible depression here, the toothy separation. So I've got a number of reasons to go in close for a closer look, which will either help me make a decision to buy the coin or condemn it. And then I see the large depression, and this is a well-known fake. A couple more depressions here. This is enough reason to walk the other way and not buy this coin. Meets mint specification, so if you can get it cheap enough, you're okay. But it is a counterfeit. Looking at this coin, it's been cleaned. You can see the dull spots here, the protected areas of luster here. It was an AU anyway, but it looks like it's been worked over a little bit. Now, if you're going to remove a date or alter a date or a mint mark, which is pretty uncommon on gold, usually if they're going to add a mint mark, it's going to be to a Charlotte or a Dahlonega or one of the Incuse Indians from the Denver Mint or Orleans. But this is an exception to that rule right here. But if they do a mint or date work, they're usually going to clean the coin, whiz it, do whatever they can to cover it up. This one, they didn't do that great of a job of covering it up, but they did square off the mint mark, and then they probably went in to scratch and wire brush that area to hide the fact that they've done anything there, and make the whole coin a problem coin. And maybe they still felt they could see it, so they scratched it. Poorly done. So this is a removed mint mark. And then there's another example of hasp marks coming out of the denticles. They see something like that, it is a counterfeit. So now you should be fairly comfortable with the vast majority of flat field coins that you would encounter. You have enough red flags to keep you away from purchasing it. Or if you were going to take a shot, to buy it on memo, to where you're buying it based on the authentication, it coming back as genuine, or maybe as of a certain grade. There's nothing wrong with buying certified coins until you're comfortable doing that. But make sure you're actually buying them certified by a company that's guaranteeing it. There actually are certification services out there that don't guarantee, but the market makers, NGC, PCGS, and I believe Annex and ICG all have guarantees. I'm not familiar with ICG or Annex's guarantee, but I do know that the guarantees from NGC and PCGS are pretty standard and very good. So there's some safety in that. Now, this is the little beast of a coin, the Incuse Indian, $2.50 and $5. You can put together a complete set of fakes for both series. And I'm talking ones that are actually made of gold, from the 60s and 70s. You can do this with any US coin practically with the new Chinese made fakes, but they're not of the same quality by any stretch of the imagination. And we do have the Chinese counterfeit detection of Chinese made coins tomorrow. Same time. So on these coins, when I pick one up, I'm going to look at it. I'm going to kind of get an overall feel for the grade, the surfaces, the originality. Is it cleaned? Is it damaged? And then I'm going to go right here. And I'm looking for tool marks. And I can show you. After that, I go up here. I'm looking for die polish. And then I go up to here. Can't get it to move. Oh, it's because that chat's in the way. There we go. I go up to here, and I like to see at least 1 or 2 lines of die polish. Okay. Usually in here, I want to see good metal flow, maybe some lines of die polish, and then die polish in here. Okay. Those are all things, that for fake, and then these for genuine. So if I go here and I don't see any tool marks, I go here, I'll see, okay, it looks like I got a couple lines of die polish, a line or 2 of die polish, and then maybe a line or 2 of die polish. I've got what I'm comfortable calling a genuine coin. Now, if I come here and I see tool marks, I'm done immediately. It's a fake, okay? Okay. Okay, there we go. We got quite a few. Let me take a quick look at the questions. There's a lot more of them than I thought. We might talk a little bit about the Charlotte Denali. cast counterfeits do have little raised bumps and also deficits. They also tend to be off in the weight. No, they never found out who was the Omega. There were some people that felt they knew who the Omega counterfeiter, but they didn't. If they're using, well, as far as anything, can the red flags for counterfeit gold coins also transfer to silver coins using counterfeit detection? Depressions, tool marks, stuff like that. If you see them on those coins, it will. But typically, those coins are authenticated differently, and most often they have most often the struck counterfeits are going to be Chinese made. With most of your minor coinages, you're looking more at date and mint mark alterations. And the depressions are if the host coin, if they take the host coin and it has a contact mark on it where another coin hit it, and it has just a shiny little dent in it or divot. If that is on the host coin, then he puts it through, say, a lathe, and he cuts dies from that lathe. That depression will be on his dies. So when he starts striking, the metal flows through to the depression, and it has mint luster in it. So that's how your depression comes. And we've got a fair amount of coming still. And yep, I have seen a complete set of Incuse Indian gold coins, but the owner knew a lot of them were fake, and the owner thought some of the genuine ones were fake. He didn't have a clear picture of about half the coins in the set. He was kind of figuring it out. Post-purchase, unfortunately. He put the set together, and then he found out that some were counterfeit, and then he called some genuine, and other people called a couple genuine, and they turned out to be fake. He was kind of all over the board on it. But so now we're going to look at them close up, and we go to we have two Indians. We go to metal flow. Working now, this when he's looking at his dies, remember the dies are the opposite of the coin. This would be probably the highest point on his dies. So he's looking at it and he sees this big bump in the center of his coin, and he's like, "Oh no, that can't be right." So he files it down, and in the process of filing it down, he gives us our tool marks. So genuine, no bueno, not good. And it's like most of your Indians are like that. Metal flow, yeah, it emulates the die polish, but you can see it blends in. It's much smoother. It looks like flow, as opposed to he's shaving off that bump, which wasn't a bump to start with. It just appeared that way on his die. So if we were all sitting together in class, I'd ask you guys, what do you think, metal flow or tool marks? And hopefully we would get a resounding tool marks, not genuine. AU details though, again, huh? Okay, so let's take another look. Yeah, I got these two coins, I pick them up, I'm looking. And cause for concern. I have red flags going off already. One, color bothers me a little bit. Two, overall look bothers me. Like this kind of has a weak, flat look to it. My digits are going off the edge. Are going off the edge of the coin. This coin bothers me. This looks, it looks clean too. So let's see, that looks horrible. And this one, actually, they both look absolutely horrible. weak on the details. Let's see if we can go in. Let's look at the reverse. They're both really ugly coins. I mean, I'd pass on both of them, but let's authenticate one of them. That looks like color change from circulation. That's a nice big rim ding. So those are 2 points in its favor. Loss of detail though, significant loss of detail, significant. This is circulation. Some detail in there. This one, the color change is suggesting to me that the coin is genuine, and this one is suggesting to me the coin is not genuine. And we'll look at the reverse, see if we can do anything more with it. Yeah, the color change from circulation. It's got a lot of the contact and stuff in the fields, this one. And the bag mark, I mean the rim ding, not a coin I would buy, but it does appear to be genuine. This one looks like it is in fact fake. And then on a lot of these pieces, you'll see a tremendous loss of detail in here. Here we have some extra metal. This would have been a contact mark on the host coin, and this is the metal that was displaced from that. But you have a little bit of a depression in here. Looks like a depression here. Very sharp rim. Very sharp rim. I go in here, I'd look to see if I've got a couple lines of die polish. I don't. If I have tool marks on some of these, especially in 1909 and 1910, for both 2.5 and the 5s, they frequently have long, wispy tool marks in this area. Let's try another one. Okay, throw it up on the screen. The initial impression, it looks like it's probably been cleaned. It's AU. It's flat. While we find depressions in the fields on your flat field coins, because the fields are for the most part protected, on these depressions are going to be very hard to spot because this isn't a protected area, and the rub from coin on coin or cabinet or circulation would show up there. So it makes it hard to spot it, but we can see, because counterfeits are almost, the gold counterfeits are almost always uncirculated, that we do have some depressions there. If we go in there, we probably do see some tool marks. So I pick up this coin, I take an overall look at it, and it's cleaned. It's kind of a problem coin. I'm going to look at the neck. If I see tool marks, I condemn it immediately. If I don't see tool marks, I move here. I don't see any die polish here, and you clearly see there's nothing there. I'm leaning towards it's also fake. If I've got die polish here, here, and here, I'm leaning towards it being genuine. And it will meet mint specification. There's a great big depression, another great big depression, another one. And so we have too many red flags. The coin's flat, wish-washy, no die polish. There's one problem after another on it. Okay, we throw these two up, take a look. It's all right. I'd rotate it around, see how it reflects with the light, whether it's got flashy luster, a good look to it, good eye appeal. You know, I want a coin that pops to me, so because then it'll pop to whoever I end up selling it to when I'm done collecting. Then I look at this one, you know, the luster, the amount of details. I'm going around. Is there anything I need to go in for a closer look? You know, I'll have to take a look at the back of the neck. That does look flat. So I'll need to go into there to look at the back of the neck. It looks like I might need to do it here. I'm kind of curious what that is. So we've rotated around, we've taken a good look. Let's go in for a closer look. Okay, yeah, looks like I've got tool marks and scratches on here. That's not good. That's a big red flag. My rim's a little weird. I've got depressions here. Oh, I've got depressions here and here, and they actually look like reading from another coin. So my host coin had some damage, and he tried to repair it here, and it had some depressions and it has a mint luster in it. So it's repair. I've got enough red flags to walk away from this coin. Save myself the aggravation of having bought a counterfeit and trying to return it. There's tool marks right here as well. Okay. Sculpted field. These are gorgeous coins. They have a satin luster. When I pick up one of these coins, I'm going to look in this area. We all will look at this area first. That's just where our eyes are drawn to. But this is where we're going to find a lot of depressions. After we've done that, we might look at the date. Frequently find depressions on top of the date. And then we're going to work our way around the stars. If there's tool marks, they're frequently in the stars. And depressions on the raised devices. Tool marks in here is another place I like to look. And looking at this one, an odd color, an AU coin, maybe looks a little bit fat, a little bit weak fat. If we go in closer, you might see that could be a depression. But we start in this area, work our way down to here, work our way through the stars, and then we go in for a closer look. This one being genuine, this one being not genuine. So let's take a look at a few as we go through. Initial impressions on this, you're probably all going, "Oh God, it's horrible. It's a counterfeit, nasty, weak, fat, bulbous, cleaned. I mean, it got awful contact marks and damage on it." This will kind of go back to that whole thing about buying the book before you buy the coin. This is actually a pattern. And even in this awful condition, it's probably worth about 10 grand, I think. It's the 1907 10 Indian wire rim pattern. So if you had called that counterfeit, somebody else would have cherry picked it and walked away with a very nice paycheck. Now moving on to a 1910. Nice coin. I'm going to rotate it around under the light. And, look for possible problems here. That looks a little dark. Maybe we've got some cleaning here, and that's enough reason to walk away from the coin. Then we'll walk around, look for, well, we got something here we're going to need to go in for a closer look. Let's check out that. Ooh, that kind of looks like a depression. Let's go to this side. Okay, let's go to this side. Typically, I start in this area. It's both for grade and for authentication. And then I move to here, looking for depressions and tool marks. I'm going to want to take a look at what that is. I'm going to go around and see what that is. And I'm going to see what that is with my loop, and then go down here. And right now, this coin has given me reason to pause because I want to see what's going on here, whether that's cleaning. If it's cleaning, I'm going to walk away from it right then and there. But if it's not, and it does look good when it rotates under the light, I'm going to go here and look at all of those things that we just pointed out. So we go in, I've got tool marks. So that's a bad sign right there, and that's enough for me to walk away from this coin. But notice how the tool marks on the sculpted coins are different to the tool marks on our Incuse Indian, and they're different to the ones we saw on the lid on the flat field gold. So it's a different type of tool mark, but it's going to show up on all regardless of date. So we'll go and look at a 1911. The digits, soft, flat. This counterfeit verse was muled with Philadelphia and a Denver reverse. And the reverse was also muled with a 16 obverse. So looking at the date area, we've got some things that are a little bit weird. But if we go right around to the back, 2 significant depressions, and some of these here, they're all going to have luster in them because they're part of the counterfeiter's die. Well, they were noticeable. People stopped buying his coin. So he went in and he repaired it. And in the process of repairing it, he made it worse. Maybe it was easier to pass, but to me, it looks worse. So these are our common reverse dies, and they were used. The tool marks were first seen on the 16 dated obverse. The one without the tool marks is usually paired with the 11 dated obverse. Subsequently, the tool dies it's seen paired with the 1908, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 16, and I believe the 32. So it's made its rounds. This one, it looks like a stunner. I mean, this one, if this was on eBay, I think most of us, depending on the price, would probably be very interested in this coin. Yeah, it looks very nice. I like it. I like it. But I still need to do my due diligence and go in for a closer look and see what I see. Initially, as I'm looking around, I do see a little bit here. Let's see, I see a little bit here. I want to maybe see what it is. Make sure it's not a spot removal. Make sure it's just a little contact in here. I want to make sure that's not a spot removal. Take a look at the date, see if I've got any depressions, see if I've got any tool marks, and hopefully I've got myself a nice coin that's worth buying. Looking closer at it, that's pretty weak, and I do have, it looks like some contact, but the contact has, unfortunately, luster in it, and this has luster in it. And so now I'm seeing my red flags, and as I proceed around the coin, I find tool marks in the stars, as we've seen, and I have what appears to be a counterfeit. Looking at this one, again, I want to know what that is. I want to know what all this is. I want to know what this is. But I do like the coin initially. Maybe a little bit, the eagle looks weak. But it does look nice. I might go in here. Oh, I definitely need to go right here and see what I've got. Do I have tool marks, depression? I do have a depression in front of the eagle's left shoulder. Let's see that. Did we point that out? Yeah, looks like we got some stuff going on here that we needed to take another look at. And then there was that we did see actually rather pronounced. So that was a depression, and they've tooled over it. So I've got several red flags. I've got enough reason to save my money and find a 12-10 someplace else. But we will explore it some more. And this is actually a different one. And there's a nice linear depression, probably a scratch from another coin. And it's got metal flow in it. If this was shiny, I'd be like, okay, it's just damage, which doesn't really help my interest in wanting to buy the coin. But because it's got the luster and the metal flow in it, it's enough reason for me to walk the other direction. Boom. Okay, a 14S. I'm looking at the whole coin. Initial impression. That looks a little weird. That looks frosty. This doesn't share that satin luster. And what is all of this? And this? And what is that? And it's in a holder. Okay, well, if it's in a holder, it must be real. All right? That should look weird to you. It's got too much of a whitish frost. And it's got those significant marks that we need to go take a closer look at. So let's go in and take a closer look at all of these awful tool marks. I mean, it's just a hot mess up here. This is an absolute disaster. This coin is fake as fake gets. Depressions, tool marks, depressions, tool marks, depression. Yeah, they made a mistake, hopefully, and they slapped a counterfeit. And somebody bought it saying it's in a holder, it must be real. Yeah, buy the coin, not the holder. But if you're going to buy a coin in a holder, make sure it's a service that actually guarantees the product. Otherwise, you're just buying expensive plastic. Moving on to this one. Here's another nice example of tool marks. Notice they're quite different than the tool marks we've seen in the past. And this is what you're going to see on your 20 Saint 2. Here we got a nice linear depression. Weak fat appearance. We've got some contact. It's been in a bag at some point. Weak fatty appearance, the depressions, toe marks on the 9. The key is rotating the coin under the light. 32. Well, we got some interesting goodies here. We've got what looks like a die crack, and we've got what looks like a die crack. This is a very nice, fine die crack, and it's angulated. This one, it looks like a die crack, but it's probably a tool mark. It's thicker, it's deeper, it's more straight. It looks like a slip, and it is, in fact, a slip. And we can see that this is a fatter, weaker, fatter date. Loss of detail. Look, it's lots of good, very fine, crisp die polish on this one. Very muted, more of a melted wax look to that metal flowing die polish. Let's see, we got another question. Do you ever point out to sellers that the coin they're offering might be counterfeit? I typically, I might, it depends on the seller. If it's somebody I know well, I will. If it's not, then I might suggest they have someone else look at it. But unless I'm asked, it's usually a better idea to just approach it cautiously. Some of the dealers have been in business 40 years, and they don't take too kindly to anybody telling them anything. But you just take it case by case as far as whether you care to share. Here's some more tool marks on that same 32. This is a common counterfeit too, or tool marks as opposed to the genuine piece, which it's got some contact marks, and detail. That's part of that common reverse. More tool marks. So you should have a better feel for the tool marks. Now, a lot of this will be illustrated in, I think the Counterfeit Detection Handbook had Counterfeit Detection textbook that the ANA produced has a lot of these details. Bill Feva's book on counterfeit gold goes through a lot of these. So if you need a refresher on the tool marks for a particular type, that's a good way to get it. Or just have the ANA search through the Harry Bass Foundation searchable index, the articles. Type in 1932 $10 and then have ANA copy the article for you and send it to you to add to your war chest. The key is having the information available to you. Okay, look at that beauty. 1907 high relief $20 gold base. Again, it's a sculpted field coin. It's one of the most beautiful coins out there. Believe it or not, $20 gold pieces are heavily counterfeited. There are a few counterfeit sets or die pairs for the 1907. One of them's quite famous. The others are kind of minor. You don't see them that often, but they come up. But the $20 gold piece series in general is heavily counterfeited, and most likely for the metals market, the European metals market. You can go to Europe. I was in Italy, or was I? Venice, and I think also in Florence, and walked by a currency exchange, and there were $20 saints in the window, where you could just go in and buy them, and they were just basically traded as gold, regardless of date and condition. So a lot of these fakes are probably not this one, but a lot of the other fakes are probably made for the metals market. In fact, many of these are, because they come close enough on the mint specifications. So looking at this coin, I'll give the whole coin a good look. I'll look in this area because I know there's a diagnostic there. I'll look at the rim too for rim dings. You know, people for whatever reason drop $20 saints a lot, and you know, rim ding, if it moves them far enough, it's going to be considered damage. And then I'm going to go here on a saint. So, and then up in the letters too. So I'm going to take a closer look at my saint. I'm going to go straight to there. And if you see it, the circle, the line, and the line, that is your omega symbol. We don't know who did it. Some people say they think they came out of the Bay Area in California. Never were able to back that up. And some people say, well, he signed his work, so he didn't buy him back. It's probably just a vanity thing. He signed it just, you know, so he could show off, so he could take a little bit of pride. The fake isn't that good, actually. If you can't see that, and people have been known to fill it in, you can see in the legends, absolutely horrible tool marks. Absolutely horrible. And it's quite visible, and it's visible without a loop. And then that part next to the head that I pointed out when I said I look at the obverse, I go right here. Horrible tool marks. Looks like he had something coming down here, and it was very noticeable, so he tooled it out. Looks like he had some depressions that transferred from the host coin, so he tooled those out. And he's given us a not very deceptive counterfeit in the process. But you know, everybody goes to the reverse to here, which is hard as anything to see, and there it is. The omega on this is easier to see than the one on that $3 gold piece. At 1908, we pick it up. That looks awfully flat, very flat, not very shiny on the luster, kind of boring. Let's see. When I pick up one of these, I tend to go to this area, depressions and tool marks on the rays, circulation and depressions all in this area, and then after that I'll work my way around here. I'm going to want to see what that is. Oh, there it is, and that's a depression. So I've got weak, flat, weak, fatty, depression. We can go through here and look some more. I might want to see this. I'm already leaning towards, I might as well just save myself the time and go get one of those wonderful concession hot dogs or find this coin at somebody else's table. Looks like a depression. Looks like a depression with tool marks. I've got enough. I'm done with this coin. I'm moving on to the next one. Do I tell the guy? I don't know. Depends on the dealer. But I would tell him you might want to get a second opinion on that one. There's a few things on it that look a little strange. Is probably the safer way of doing it. So we pick up this one, look at it, nice color. You know, that dull area, that's kind of big. You know, a few contact marks. This is probably pretty typical. I want to see if that's a depression. I'll look at this coin. Weak, flat, weak and flat. See something there I want to look at. Let's see what that is. Let's go to the next. Let's go in for a closer look. Let's see what we see. Working our way around. It doesn't look like I got much going on here. Might have something here I need to look at. There. When I work my way back up, I see the B. So yeah, there's all my indicators that there's something wrong, that I need to go in for a closer look. And there it is, tool marks. And there are depressions with luster in the rays. The rays are great for goodies. That's like your Easter basket. You'll find tool marks and depressions in there. I noticed these depressions and these tool marks are pretty much identical to the 10 Indian depressions and tool marks. So this is another indication for our satin or our sculpted field coins. There's a depression. Not sure what that is. Look at the stars are kind of weak. Depression. Looks like it's probably a depression. Well, that should give you a pretty good feel for your saint. The 1924-20. Of the saints, this is probably the most counterfeited, which is a surprise. I personally would take a $20, I'd take an awful 1924 $20 saint, I'd melt it down and I'd make $21 gold pieces. If I was a counterfeiter, maybe they have, but I'm investing a lot of money into one single counterfeit that is so big, all of its diagnostics are going to be easy to see. So that's another reason why we think they tend to be for the bullion market in Europe. Keep in mind that that's big business. At one point, there were 9 private mints producing British sovereigns in Europe for the bullion market. And it becomes a problem when you have it enter the collector market. Right now, I don't think the counterfeits are going to hurt you too bad because I'm not sure. I don't think the premiums are still up. I'd have to check that, but I know a few months back, I mean, there were no premiums, but your better dates are the ones to watch for. And this is, if anybody didn't know, should have been a huge red flag the second I put it up. This being a Chinese-made fake. This is a sculpted field coin. It has satin luster. They do not come PL. And the proofs are matte, so this is complete nonsense. You need to keep in mind the Chinese don't know coins. I mean, they don't know American coins. There's nobody out there teaching them. They're making coins and it looks good to them, and so they think it's the way it's supposed to be. Okay. If we'd probably hear some chuckling in the room if we were in class, and then the Walking Dead comments would start. Looking at this one, a nice genuine proof, 2014. And this, it's, wow, fingerprint, scratches. More importantly, looks like one of the Walking Dead zombies. This being the Chinese counterfeit, it is not gold. Some people say they've seen some that are plated. I'm leaning towards they're just a base metal. She is absolutely terrifying. I'm not bringing her home for dinner. But this is our nice, genuine mint specimen. But look at that, it's metal flow, it's frosting, the dies are etched, it's, very well done. This is a very weird look, almost looks like they've cut it out. Now, what they're doing, I've been to China and I've seen them making other coins, not these, but they take just an image. They might have got it from heritage auctions or the US Mint, and they scan it. They run it through a scanner, then they fix it. they bring out the things and give it its cutting, let's say, instructions. Now, there's a big thing. I never noticed that before. That's part of the die they forgot to etch. And they run it through the program. They try to clean it up, fix it up, give it a little bit of oomph, and then they run it to a CNC type machine, and the dies are cut. And after they've cut the dies, they have a couple of ladies who sit there with Scotch tape and an etching fluid, and they'll tape off all of the raised devices, and they'll etch. And they cut them, and then they etch them, and then it goes in for striking. But you see, this is probably from your computer person enhancing the hair. They probably saw this and thought, well, that's not going to look very good. The computer didn't pick it up, so let's enhance it so it looks like it's supposed to look. And that's precisely what we're seeing. And in the process, they turned her into a monster. Wow. So much can be said. One, fake holder, fake coin, probably brass. It has a cartoonish look as opposed to how it's supposed to look. Fake holders are a problem. They're doing all of them. NGC and PCGS have been really busting their humps trying to stay ahead of the game, and they've done a very good job if you pay attention to the holder. This is an older style. This is actually when I was working at NGC, and one, the guy brings in the coin trying to pass it on. You can buy those on AliExpress. That used to be you could get them on eBay, but now they're getting harder and harder to find. When you do bid on one, you usually get an email from the seller, not the seller, the guy who actually makes them, and he'll offer you the other ones that he's not offering there. But what I want you to kind of get from this is actually the holder. If you look at the hologram and study the genuine hologram, this is 3 lines, and it clearly says NGC in it. Okay, that is the genuine hologram. Okay, and if you look at this, it has hologram, but it's not 3 distinct, relatively easy to read lines. This is the most common of the holders, at least that I've come across. And this one actually was shown to me at a Long Beach show, and it fooled the person that was at the NGC table, understandably. But now everybody should know it. Do not think that just because the coin is coming from China, that it's counterfeit. There are some very big dealers in China, and they are selling genuine coins. And they're selling genuine coins in PCGS and NGC holders, and there are opportunities there. I've spent a lot of money in Asia buying genuine US coins. A lot of money in Asia doing that. You just have to be careful. Well, if that wasn't good enough, they've also done this. I don't know whether anybody is collecting this stuff or buying this stuff or accumulating this stuff, but you might want to be careful when you do it. Wow, that one's invisible. Okay, here's one. I got this off of Facebook Marketplace as prop money, but there's nothing prop about it. It is intended to fool you. And oh God, I feel like a moron trying to do this. So uncoordinated. It's just way too thick. But it's in its secure holder that is offered by Pam Swiss. We got to put the glasses on. These are going to be thicker than they should be, as you can see in the image, quite thick. There are testers that kind of make it through the plastic and to tell you whether it's gold or not, but they don't go far enough in to tell you what's inside of it. Let's see. Yeah, there's a different version of the perp mint. They're all too thick. Some of them are a little bit too big. They at least try to get the exterior measurements correct. But here's a Credit Suisse. I got 2 of those. Here's a Johnson, Matthey. And then, of course, let's not leave out the Canadians. You wouldn't think this was so hard to do. Anyway, you can look at those on Wish. I think that's where I got them, the Wish. And they're like $1 a piece, or $3 or something like that a piece, or $10 or something. So that is the end of the presentation. We'll take questions now. I've got this screen open. They do not, and I really urge you not to, go on to AliExpress or Alibaba or even Wish. Although I think Wish has actually done a great effort to get US coins off the site. The bullion's still there and the foreign coins are still there. Do not, under any circumstances, buy what you know is probably counterfeits. You can buy a complete set of large cents on AliExpress. Do not buy them. They are stopping it as it comes into the country. It has become a big enough problem that they are taking it very seriously. And there are, I mean, and you search the articles. There's Chicago is pretty good about telling you how much stuff they're bringing in, and it does appear that they're stopping packages with 2 items in it, and then packages with hundreds of items in it, and they are spanking people. Okay, I'm currently consulting on a deal, and then another dealer out here is also consulted on a deal with Secret Service. It is a problem. They are taking it seriously, and if I think even getting investigated, you'll need to get an attorney, and it's going to get very expensive. So just save yourself the effort. I mean, if you see something on Facebook Marketplace, go ahead, but do not, under any circumstances, buy something you have to ship to this country. If anything can go wrong, it will, and you're going to get spanked. Now, as far as the counterfeiting problem, the Chinese are doing more gold-ish counterfeits than they ever have before. I went through, I monitor it, and I went through it, and I'm seeing $20 saints and all of it, complete set of Indian head gold, or Incuse Indian gold. They're doing all of it, and they're doing a lot of it, and it looks pretty good. Now it's just a matter of it coming into the country. It's starting to come in through Canada now, but the Secret Service is going to be on top of that. They're also doing counterfeit US paper money. There's a website in Canada where you can buy $100 bills that are quite good, that supposedly will fool ATMs. So stay away from anything that could get you into serious trouble. The counterfeiting problem is probably worse than anybody really imagines. And there's stuff I just can't go into detail on, but don't buy anything that you think is possibly or is counterfeit that needs to be shipped into this country. Just don't do it. They are stopping a lot of it, and they don't care if it was for your reference set. As far as if you have counterfeit, the best thing to do for it is to donate them to the ANA and have them in the teaching set. Because if we were at the ANA right now, we'd be in our comfy little classroom in the basement, which is kind of like a movie theater almost, and we'd be going through all these coins hands-on, and you'd be learning it, and then you'd be able to go back to your coin club and probably tell them about it. there's a reason why we see so many of these counterfeits, these older type counterfeits that we just went through from the 50s and 60s and stuff like that, is because they go back into the marketplace. You know, the guy buys it, he puts it in his collection, he finds out it's counterfeit, he sets it aside, he passes away, or he sells his collection, and one way or another, it ends up back in the marketplace. So if you really want to do that, you know, get rid of them, give them to the Secret Service. I mean, you can give them to the Secret Service, but I think it's pretty much a waste of time. Give them to the ANA. The ANA is allowed to keep the counterfeits, because Secret Service, well, I've trained Secret Service. We're taking a job that they need done, or that actually helps them, and we're keeping it off their plate. But keep in mind that there was a time where the Secret Service did come out and actually confiscate the ANA set, and then they gave it back when they realized that we're actually helping them with stuff that they just don't have the manpower to do. They don't currently have a coin expert, as far as I know. Instead, they rely on consultants like me. If you want, I probably have some more fake graded holders like the NGC one. I do have images of that. If you email me, I can probably send you a few of those. I do recommend you guys do consider coming out to the ANA Summer Seminar. It is a tremendous network opportunity. It's also a tremendous opportunity to buy coins, because they do have the coin show, and people are trading amongst themselves. There's also the YN auction, but you're going to see coins. I mean, right now you might be feeling pretty comfortable about your Liberty Head Gold, but you go to a coin show and you might pick up a coin, look at it, and all of a sudden not feel so comfortable about it. There is a huge difference between seeing these images and talking about them and holding them in your hand. So I do recommend you come to Summer Seminar. The networking is phenomenal. The classes are amazing. This is part of this is a four and a half day class in Colorado. So you can imagine the hour and 30 minutes of gold that we just did would normally take an entire 8-hour day, if not a day and a half. And then we have the viewing, and you will walk out of there with some serious chops as far as catching not only the gold, but also Morgan dollars, Indian cents, Lincoln cents, all of them. And the Chinese counterfeits will not be a threat to you at all. How do you go? Where do you go from here? With Summer Seminar is a good idea. Maybe picking up Bill Fiva's book on gold and kind of refreshing your memory on the types of diagnostics, not necessarily the specific coins, but the diagnostics for the type. Look at as many coins as you can, especially genuine coins. The more, let's say, muscle memory you develop looking at, say, $20 Saints, when there is a coin that's either been altered and its color's changed, or it's fake, or something like that, loss of detail, it's going to stand out when you're going through a series of $20 Saints. It just sort of pops. That's something you want to do by looking at a lot of coins. If you have any questions, use the Q&A thing and send them in. And we'll do that for this last few minutes. If Andy, I don't know, I think I can't even tell how to work this stuff.
How you doing, Brian?
Good. How you doing?
Can you see me?
Yep.
All right. Well, let's go through a few of these questions. A member wants to know if you have anything you could speak to regarding Southern Mint coins, specifically Charlotte.
On those, Charlotte and Dahlonega, for that matter, they're obviously little prizes. Their condition is often rough. As far as mid-mark editions, I've seen maybe two of both the C and the D that have been added. for the most part with them, your biggest threat is going to be condition issues. Because most of them are problem coins, valuing them is a little bit rough. You can make a huge mistake by not being familiar with how they look, in the broader spectrum of damage versus not so damaged. That's you're going to get stung on price. I would buy from an expert. I would buy authenticated, and there's some very bright experts on that gold, and I would pick their brains or just buy it from them. But yeah, those are rarities, and but the alterations are pretty. I would be more concerned for repairs than mintmark alterations.
Another question here: do cast counterfeits tend to have little raised bumps on the coin?
Yes, and the stuff that we're looking at right now, you won't typically find cast. They're going to thud. They're going to be base metal. They're not going to come anywhere near close to the weight they're supposed to be. If you really are starting to do a lot of obscure gold or metals and stuff like that, you can do a specific gravity test in lieu of purchasing, a $6,000 metal content tester. Those X-ray scanners, and the articles are in the ANA for the specific gravity test. But the cast counts, you're going to see that more on large cents, colonials, world coins, but not typically the gold. The gold is might be from cast dies, but the gold coins are typically struck. An easy way, and one indicator I forgot too, for the $2.5 and $5 Indians, and this is going to go over like a ton of bricks at a coin show. If you lay it flat on the case and you spin it, and if it spins flat, like a plate, it's probably counterfeit. But if you spin somebody's $2.5 and $5 gold piece on their case, you're probably going to get in a heap of trouble. So that's an authentication technique that you do in the privacy of your own home.
Okay. Brian, can the red flags for counterfeit gold that you've pointed out today transfer to silver coins in regards to counterfeit detection?
No, it's a different animal. It's a different animal. Most of your silver counterfeits are going to be Chinese made. There's some that have depression. There's a $17.99 that has a deficit in the R in Liberty that resembles some of the deficits we've seen here. It's a slightly different animal. Most of the dollars you're going to be looking at mintmark alterations and date alterations, except for maybe the O mint, and anything struck counterfeit's going to be Chinese, and that's a whole different piece of junk. And we're doing that tomorrow.
Yeah, I just to piggyback on what Brian said, tomorrow Brian is going to be giving a presentation at noon Mountain Time on Chinese-made counterfeits. So be sure to join us for that one. Also, for silver and non-gold US coins, we have a presentation, again by Brian, again at noon Mountain, next Tuesday, the 29th. So please register for that one as well to learn about non-gold US counterfeiting.
That one's at noon too?
Is it? I think it's at noon.
Okay. Just double check the schedule, I guess, on the website.
Yeah.
I'm not sure when it was. She just said, let's do it Tuesday. And I said, fine. So
I would assume it's noon, but for those who are interested, I guess maybe double check, but I'm assuming it's at noon Mountain. Okay. What causes a depression in the counterfeit coins at an, I guess this person wants clarification. What causes a depression in the counterfeit coins at an appropriate time?
I think we talked about that one in the class. Basically, if one coin bumps, two genuine coins bump into each other, they leave a mark on the other coin. That mark is part of the coin. Then it becomes part of the counterfeiter's die. The metal flows across it when he strikes. So you have a depression which has luster in it as opposed to shiny contact. And then the repeating that depression will show up on every coin he strikes from those dies unless he goes back to repair it. As we saw on that 10 Indian gold, not the 10 gold, where he went in and he put the tool marks in those two depressions that were on the reverse of the coin. That's and then you have to do the depressions on the other picture. So that gives you an idea of the depressions. Somebody asked a question for my email address. I'll do that. Yeah, if you wanted additional information or questions, just send me an email. I'll try to get back to you as fast as I can. If it's images, it's going to take me a little bit to find them. I do have probably some more images of the NGC slab somebody had asked about. There, I put my, okay, or they can just send the request to money, museum at money. So yeah.
I figured you'd more be comfortable with that. If you'd everyone, if you'd like Brian's email, just send a request to museum@money.org, and I will get you that information.
Okay, and the other thing, like I said, there is the Harry Bass Reefers Foundation where you can search specific coins, and it'll give you articles about those counterfeits, which is nice because it gives you J.P. Martin's articles before I took over the Authentication Bureau, but it also gives you my articles. And so you can go through Harry Bass research, searchable index, and do that. The library can tell you the correct web address. Alternatively, my website has a section of articles, and you just go on and download all the articles you want, and they're free. And you don't have to buy any coins while you're there. And most of the coins on my website have already been sold because I'm lazy and I don't update my website. But the articles are all there and they're all free. So you can hit the ANA library, which is probably one of your best member benefits, or you can hit up my website. And there is a website out there for counterfeit ingots, and I could not find it last night, but there is one out there that goes through how to do these ingots.
Here's an interesting question. Have you ever seen a complete counterfeit set of Incuse Indian gold coins where the owner was not aware they were fakes?
Yeah, we talked about this one, and I've seen complete sets of 3-cent nickels. Actually, it was a set that went into the ANA. That was the shield nickels. The guy donated a set of shield nickels to the ANA, and he knew he had Chinese counterfeits, but there was also some really nice genuine pieces in there that we pulled out. So one fun story is back in the early days of that Pawn Stars?
Yeah.
They had a guy look at it was a 32D or S quarter, and he looked at the mint mark and it looked bad, so he said the coin's bad, and it was actually genuine, and he was their expert. So yeah.
What gold purity do a lot of counterfeiters use for gold eagles, gold in general?
They're going to hit the correct percentage. Well, gold eagles, they're going to be probably not even gold. But for your $20, your US coin gold, if they're counterfeiting, it's typically going to meet mint specifications. Sometimes it's a little bit finer.
Are there any good edge diagnostics for $10 Indians, like wandering stars? In the motto for saints?
Yeah, sometimes the edge is one of the hardest things to reproduce. So you might get tool marks coming off of the star tips. It's kind of just like a long spike that comes out, or the stars kind of jigger across the edge of the coin. They bounce almost from high to low.
Well, we'll answer these final two questions. These are a little more, but there's one that's actually I wonder about from time to time. But how hard is it to track down counterfeiters? Like, do you think we do a good? I mean, there's always room to be better, I guess. But I've thought about that as well. Like, if you get good at counterfeiting, shame on you. But how many of these people are eventually getting busted?
Well, For coins, probably hardly any, if any.
Yeah.
eBay has caught people who are altering dates and mint marks. Those coins will be in the presentation on Tuesday. But Secret Service catching people actually making coins, it's unheard of, I think. I mean, Mark Hoffman in Utah, he counterfeited a number of coins and believed to have done that 1959 Lincoln cent mule. That's been a hotly contested coin for about 20 years. But yeah, I mean, we don't know who the Omega counterfeiter was. We don't know who the Bay Area counterfeiter is or was. He did a lot of large cents and small cents. But for coins, no, the Secret Service focuses on documents and paper money, and coins has been kind of something they've touched periodically. And I mean, I've been to their headquarters and trained one of their guys, and then a couple of years later, he retired. And right now, they're using me as a consultant and a few other people because they just don't. So they're catching people passing it and bringing it in. I don't think they're able to do anything as far as people manufacturing it.
Here's a kind of a general question that I've wondered too. When you were an NGC grader, I often, talk to different graders about I'm looking at coins like all day. So this person just wants to know, at what point did you as a grader have to walk away from the coins a little bit and regain your equilibrium and, so you were grading accurately?
It's different per person. There's some guys who could probably sit there all day and not be bothered by it. And then and I think it just depends on your age too.
Yeah,
the younger guys can sit there, but it depends on the person. And when you needed a break, you just got up and took one. But I mean, at the beginning of the year, when we would have the Silver Eagles coming out, I mean, we get pulled into grading. If we graded other stuff, we get pulled into grading the Silver Eagles, and we would be hitting 3,500 coins out a day. So yeah, you do get burnout.
Then one last question here. It's not US, Brian, but sovereigns. What are you seeing lately in terms of counterfeit material?
It's a lot of the older stuff, and then the Chinese stuff. The Chinese are pretty. You can buy a set of sovereigns. I saw a set of sovereigns on AliExpress last night, and they're not even going to be gold. But it's a lot of the older sovereigns, and a lot of those are documented in the International Association of Professional Numismatists, the IAPN. Have these binders that has reports that show you a lot of the counterfeit sovereigns. It's in the ANA library. You can probably get copies of it, but they're older pieces, and they were designed for the metals market.
Okay, everybody. Well, that's a wrap. We're in at just 2 hours, Brian. Perfect.
Cool.
So everyone out there that's still logged in, thanks, Brian, for a great presentation. I think most of you can agree why we get them out to summer seminar. Hopefully we can see you out here. Maybe you can take Brian's class next year at summer seminar. That'd be great. Or any other class at summer seminar. Again, we miss it. This is the second year in a row that we haven't had the actual physical seminar, but it's a really positive experience. So it's one that I would encourage everyone to join us in 2022 for. So Brian is going to be teaching another class on Chinese-made counterfeits tomorrow at noon Mountain. And then his presentation next Tuesday, the 29th, is on US non-gold material. So please join us for those two presentations as well. Again, thank you, Brian. I'd once again like to thank the Gray Sheet for their sponsorship of our eLearning Academy. Please visit money.org to see about future offerings, even past summer seminar offerings. And we hopefully will see you tomorrow, everyone. Thanks for joining us.